Renegade. Man, when afraid man in the wilderness. Keep it real and honest one, you know, tabloid. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, worldwide. Yeah, man, the renegade here. Hey, let me tell you this. This is a classic. That one, when I do Nigel. Nigel, that one is a classic. Right? After me, I put out and I show the people them where I'm going on with, right? You have a minion. Come up and leave a little thing from one of my video. And the minion them put out something, say me should have feel proud. Say you are raised the flag. But what kind of flag? When you raise flag for the wrong reason, you know, I'm not proud of that, you know, brother. Yes. Them can get tricked. But I kind of, you know, I kind of little things when I can use and trick them. Not me. Me question things. I want to show something. So I'm going to some video because today we're going to show you, say, you're at the place. Now, that's going to say, no, at the place. You just please yourself too. Self-centered. And people who want to see, go on, take a look at IMF. Who fund the IMF? We have fund them third world country and what IMF all about and everything. So we're going to play that. I remember look on the effect where IMF have been at these country worldwide. Now some videos what I want to show now. So I'm going to start the show. We can't play around here, you know. The man jump ship. And by the way, them jump ship, before me even start, I'm showing you something now. Them, remember, you know, mommy return. The mommy I return. Them out to use mommy return are Tumblebug. Them are considered to be finance minister. Either the mommy return or Tumblebug. Believe it or not, I'm showing it. I'm showing it. More show you before me start that thing, you know. Let me show you who them are considered. A matter of fact, look who put them up to. Let me show you this. The mommy return or Tumblebug. So the mommy return, after the mommy just mash up the school then. Let me start this. Let me show you this before me start my program. Look here. So look who put them, because them pick who, you know. So they put mom there, that means mommy. Mom and succeeding Clarke as finance minister. So they might return the mommy. And you see who put it out? See, because them decide our country for run and do it mash up. You see who this? See the mom there, you know. See there? Williams and the mommy return and tumble. Mom. And succeeding Clarke as finance minister. Well, the mommy are return. Anyway, let me start this. And then, very educational. This one I can do right now. Yeah? Man done the place. Let me start this now.
We lump some, we a beat it till they am a been. We now make them get in and them and again. None of them boy, we none of them. We alone some rise up the bomb of them.
Not a Judas, them a backstabber. I'm my wife, and this straight beauty and glamour. No guy can walk to name me with no dagger. Make the heart of Mandela, but the mind of a Zama in the mold. Like a bull man, we send us the jammer. Lyrically inclined, be a metaphor, so no listen to lyrics line to line. Become a lyrical phaser. Put up in everything, they load some boy all in a hater.
Yes, people. Yes, all right. If we talk about the IMF, you know, we have to know about the IMF good. We don't want to guess and spell. We don't guess and spell, right? So we're going to show them so we know about the IMF. And the person who write me know it's a minion, it's a JLP minion. Now one of them right. You know, leave them, no, them write and leave one of the comments like them address me. I'm going to show it, but I think everybody, you know, them are whopping. I'm do I don't even understand. I don't know. See? Them about Nigel. Me no know for what, right? But me I got show you something right now. I got show you something. Let me start from this because we want to know about what the IMF for them a do or who create the IMF and who fund the IMF. And then when you see who fund the IMF, you know why them have a grip on everything, and what them doing. I'm looking at Africa and everything good here. What's this?
National Monetary Fund, an institution that promotes global economic stability and perhaps a lender of last resort, or, as some say, an outdated organization whose policies damage the social and cultural fabric of a country. Let's take a closer look. The IMF was founded in 1944 at Bretton Woods in the United States. Since then, its membership has grown from 44 countries to 190. The IMF says it monitors the economic health of member countries and...
IMF is not a private entity. Out of many. So me ask you upon you, so it's a private entity. No country to country, man. Just look what me I show you, and you know where them get the money from. Me I show you in a real time. Yeah?
Social fabric of a country. Let's take a closer look. The IMF was founded in 1944 at Bretton Woods in the United States. Since then, its membership has grown from 44 countries to 190. The IMF says it monitors the economic health of member countries and provides loans for governments in economic distress. 2 years ago, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 100 nations requested bailouts from the IMF. Here's our correspondent Alan Fisher reporting on those loans.
From its headquarters here in Washington, the International Monetary Fund has put together a $9 trillion pot to help countries deal with the COVID crisis. Most of that money has come from the G20, the world's richest nations, and more than 100 countries have...
So you hear where them get the money from? You hear where them get the money from to do this? So at the richest nation, the G20, I lend the money to do this. That means the money come with interest and other thing on it. Them I look at you like, well, I have nothing to do with it, but I pay them money. The IMF not print money, but them not get money from. And so they make money off of it. That's why them can manipulate the whole place. Listen again. That's what I'm saying around here, so, we like, hoping people are listen again.
From 44 countries to 190. The IMF says it monitors the economic health of member countries and provides loans for governments in economic distress. 2 years ago, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 100 nations requested bailouts from the IMF. Here's our correspondent Alan Fisher reporting on those loans.
From its headquarters here in Washington, the International Monetary Fund has put together a $9 trillion pot to help countries deal with the COVID crisis.
$9 trillion. Where did I get $9 trillion from? Yo, then get that money.
Most of that money has come from the G20, the world's richest nations, and more than 100 countries have asked for help.
Now, this is the IMF.
So the world's richest nation, because the IMF itself now them kind of money, they want their money there. Them put their money, and that's why it's a spirit measure. Hey, we have to be smart, because the money have to come from somewhere, So them sit down and going like, oh, we not do this, but of them same one. Yeah. See? Yeah, because them same way. Gonna loan shark. Them for them money you can't stop paying them. So
map of where money was distributed among those.
And then them take the money and distribute it in a certain country and do wow. That's a certain country. Them apartheid, but yet still, their money big. Yeah. You understand? This is how them hold you. They not have to chain you up again, but them chain you up the other way. See? So we can just move, can't look on the money with them just look at.
Helped $2.7 billion to Egypt, $411 million to Ethiopia, $361 million to Bosnia-Herzegovina. More recently, Sri Lanka received $2.9 billion after its economy faced collapse. It ran out of money for food, medicine, cooking gas, and fuel. But critics of the IMF say it is outdated and ineffective. Of the 89 developing countries that received IMF loans between 1965 and 1995, more than half were no better off afterwards. In fact,
just listen, we teach them and then we chat.
32 were poorer. Other critics question whether many nations which borrow money from the IMF have the ability to repay it.
Now you're saddled with additional debt from the IMF, then some sort of longer term plan and program is likely going to have to step in to help countries through that.
Now, the IMF is downgrading its forecast of 2.9%.
Okay, so we want to understand the IMF. So it's simple. I'm not have to tell me nothing. Me I play, me I give you the real thing, statistic, everything. So you know where it farm, you know the country them will come together, how much country in it originally, and then it's come on board. So the richest, the 20th richest country lend the money, and then them disperse it to one who. But it come with strings attached like slavery, well as slavery. So them can make and break and bust you up and do anything. So you know come out of this when them hold you up. Yeah. Keep the country in debt. You're right. Control. You're right. Yeah. So you see the whole of the country then, you know see them big countries that go borrow money from IMF and them for them money. So instead of them do them have this. So in them now them give you a grant when them ready, you know, but put 9 trillion together, 20 richest country, and then lend it to the poorest country, and then tie you up with all kind of things. That's why you have Nigel Clarke. Him overpay the debt. Same to 70% overpay and underpay workers. He must of the country. Me not ask for look. And that applaud him. That's why them draw a film because this is what them do. Yeah. Austerity measures. This is what them do. So you have to understand this. What we are talking about, people more understand what we are talking and say yes. So we are talking no man, not the wilderness. Make you look at some country in Africa now. No, let me play Nigel Clarke first. And then we'll go to Africa and we'll look at what the IMF do and all kind of things. See? And by the way, I know just him alone, them take people out of Africa right now and I put some other people on the board to make you feel good. It's a feel good thing. I will play it so when you see it. Right? Go and deal with him. Right now, the doctor in Jamaica don't get paid from last week. Them are saying exactly. Them get paid. Them all their money for pay nobody. See? Them borrow money on top of the reserve. What pay to with it? What pay to with it? Stupidness. And then the man a jump ship. You wreck the ship, you have to go down with the ship. If everybody has go down, you have to go down, you have to stay on the ship last. Can you wreck it already? Wait till the election and them walk you and then them do the hard thing and who go prison or do something. But you know jump ship. You understand? And look for a bigger money. Make up play the man when them say algorithm. Yeah.
Is an arithmetic necessity so that when the pay slip is received, the amount of the statutory reflect the actual amount of statutory that need to be paid in the context of the new compensation system. The instructions that would have gone out were algorithmic instructions about how to construct payment. And I do understand that that algorithm, complex structural problems, and through application of analysis. Now, just to get a little more granular, and I hope I can retain your attention even at a level of additional granularity. The algorithm that went out would have specified, add this, add that, add this, and then minus this, minus this, minus this.
So minus what? Add what? Add this, add that, then minus this, minus this. You might talk to, no? I better you have a mute talk to you, and you understand, and then touch your thing. Add this, add that, and then you minus this, minus this, minus this. Minus what? Add what? Logarithm. See? When the people them not get their money and all kind of thing, this is where I'm going out with. Because them overpay down on the debt. Overpay on the debt. Instead, remember, that's why you have hospitals stay like how it stay. That's why the road them stay. So that's why the teacher them can't get paid and them are leave and the police them can't get paid. And that's what I make. I make love that. Can't have to pay back to it debt as them. Have to pay back the debt. And I feel them money and I have money and the country them money, So them give the loan, give the IMF the money where them are lend out. And the IMF money, and them have to get credit on them money. So them have pay who are on this to monitor and run this, them and the World Bank. That's that them do. One day over there, so one day over there, so that them do. But over the decades, we don't see our country grow and then leave it. And by the way, Patterson, they set a talk to the IMF. Who go back to the IMF? 16 years now. Who go back to the IMF in around 2008? 15 to 16, 2008, 2009. Who go back to the IMF, people? Sure. Then go back to the IMF. And them not pay the debt like how him now overpaid. Them never meet them target. Them never meet them target. So Sister P now and Sister P, Mark to the legislation, Marky G, Phillips, Sister P, Marky G, and them are frustrating that time to the legislation. Sister P have to depend on this. And then, you know, thing that Peter Phillips, as the minister, of straighten out them straighten out. Sister P, them and them Mark deal with legislation. So the three of them, and them straighten out all of this. And then when them come in, remember them have to put in something. We know. See? And then them that's why the other day when them attack him, well, it starts from, you know, different administration tell them that take some credit. So well, them do this. Because remember the IMF never give them no more. So it end up like Sri Lanka. The way them do with it in 4 years. And I joke, I go check it. Not even folk around 2008, 2009, them get the money. By 2011, they mash up the whole place. Yeah. See, they mash it up. And remember, and I like that bill store and them go check it. I one thing me not do tabloid. So I look back in the IMF same way, like come and say you do this and you had this. Like people are eat that. Me go look in Africa, so I come back and play some more like it. But I know no handful where are the apps. Everything good. See? So me could just pray. Me could look in Africa now, how them operate. Them and the World Bank. Because the World Bank are like same thing, one in Europe and one in America, right? And this is how them do for help them third world nation. But it's like a shackle and chain. You can't get away. Because for them money, them dictate it. Yeah? Watch this.
Just jump right into it here, and we want to start off our conversation by discussing the shackles of debt that have been holding down the African continent for decades. And we are very honored to be joined as we continue the show by Grieve Shelwell, who is the Director of Research at the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy at the New School. Grieve, thank you so much for being with us here on the show.
Eugene and Rania, thanks for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Well, the pleasure is really all ours. And, you know, recently you worked on a fantastic dossier, I have to say, from the Tricontinental Institute for Social Research about exactly this issue of African debt. And I was hoping to start, you could maybe just sort of set the frame for us a little bit, because one of the things I thought was most interesting in the report is, you know, whether we're talking about the rise of the IMF debt regimes in the mid-1970s or the rise of the huge explosion of private debt in the early part of this century, it seems like this is not just sort of a neutral reality that was set forward, but that the debt mechanisms are designed to institutionalize a certain global power structure. So I was hoping you could just talk a little bit about that.
You're right, Eugene. I think debt as a mechanism of control, I think, is the way you've put it. And it's worth for your listeners and viewers to sort of understand, why is it that the African continent in many ways seems to be addicted to debt? It looks like it's addicted to debt, but I think it's important to understand that history has gotten us to this point, right? So the history of colonialism, the history of imperialism, the current moments of neocolonialism have gotten us into this kind of situation where many of our countries are always lacking in the sufficient capital to do what they need to do, right? So, countries need to put up infrastructure. We need to invest in hospitals, schools, roads, electricity, the kind of stuff that's really important and a precondition for development. But we do not have sufficient capital internally. Why is it that we don't have sufficient capital internally? Because a lot of our capital is spirited away to the West, right? So we then find ourselves in this kind of situation where we are capital deficient. And because we're capital deficient, we then have to borrow. Not unlike the situation of like a low wage worker who is exploited and extracted, and they have no choice but to go to a payday lender, as is the case in the US, right? So this is similar to the African situation. And because of that, we go through these cycles of debt. And that debt, like you were saying, Eugene, is used as a mechanism of control. It's a mechanism of subordination and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, and it's a mechanism where them use to control, you know. Yeah, I do all kind of things to you. True. Just to the country. And I like you then somebody something and you do it for the decades and you think it'll work. And you make it a way that them are about them too, where you say it's all right. It's coming like somebody under some drugs, some cocaine, and you go at the house where them go clean up themselves. Some of them are gonna come back and mash up. And one and two of them come out. You know, clean up good, you know, say it's addicted, you know, the death. It's like a slave the same way, mash up your country, dictate. Them not spending the money, you know. And say spend this. You can build factory, do what you want to do with it. Just make sure you repay within 5 or 10 years. No, them lend your money. And it's bad when them lend your money, them sit down and say, listen, you can't spend it on no factory. You can't do this with it. You can't pay them with it. You have to use a different money. The money, I put it at the bank and keep it there. So give me back this amount of interest. Remember the big country, them dictate, you know. They won't grab this stuff to build, you know, they say IMF, International Monetary Fund. But after the money, you study the G20 and lend the money. You understand them have a pandemic, them put 9 trillion. But that's trillion. And then disperse to the who are borrowed and do all kind of thing, them so much money need. Them all when much years pass, still not pay it back. So me like understand when me attack these things. This is not something to be proud about. We don't want to borrow this. We want to come like some other country, you know, we don't need to borrow it. No, so it up. Continue.
And it's interesting, you know, this is happening right now where you see this new sort of cycle of IMF going around the world, advising countries in the global south, whether in Latin America or the Middle East or Africa or Asia, to institute even more austerity measures in a time when a lot of countries are suffering from the aftermath of COVID, for one. I mean, COVID destroyed a lot of economies. In ways that the global south had a much more difficult time bouncing back from, if it hasn't really done that actually. And then moreover, we have this war in Ukraine that has, you know, led to shortages of certain items. I know, you know, I live in Lebanon, for example, and the country's cash strapped because of its own economic crisis, on top of the fact that oil, fertilizer, prices of all of these raw commodities, you know, shot up. And so right now, it seems as though the IMF is going around to a lot of African countries and trying to, push for more austerity. Can you talk a little bit about
more austerity? And I got them doing in Jamaica. Who don't understand this? Who don't understand this? We understand how it works. And you have some people tell about flag because Andrew run out and shut a bag of bulls. And a man run out. You don't understand my thing deeper than that. With the 40 tell you. Because I don't know what the one right me, you know. Sometimes yeah, one of them people are right, you know. You must have a little coffee or a little goon or something or a buffoon or write something and play some little minions and another party. Me I talk about the finance minister now, you know. And somebody write me and say, uno PMP and you should have proud of the man and for that's why we not reach nowhere. By the way, this will read out that because me I wonder if you've reached somewhere and me I point out something wrong that can stop a country from move forward. If that can stop country from move forward, America wouldn't do away. People are just use their mouth and go out and just start and say, America mash up now with bun down and way you look at bun down. And that's how it works. When the thing not working, you ever look on the hospital in Jamaica? When they see the water on the road, them, you look on the school, you look on the ghettos. Eh? Now let that power team G. Continue.
What exactly the IMF is demanding right now, and if it's any different than in the past?
Rania, yeah, that's a good question. And I think, again, tying up to the question Eugene asked earlier, we have to understand. So essentially, the IMF, the World Bank, and other international financial institutions, particularly the IMF and the World Bank.
And nobody. When it's them kind that are them send it out. Nobody can chat to me, you know. Because when you hold up on government, I'm a fuck him say I'll well think in Jamaica and wait and fight and cancer in unison together. Against the level and crime against the government. And him say more the government accountable. So when you know what, it's not more than that. No, you know, farm the government in a business now. And you hold him accountable. You never rush him when him in opposition. You know? I never rush him. Yeah? Him talk some things. I'm alone can make a sleep with the window and door open. Him play politics with everything. And him tell you. Him says a political view. No, them kind something. Boy, them play. We not business where them want say neither. Who said that so them are labor right and them they are. And by the way, because you have good JLP. But you have some of them one with them sting them umbilical cord attached to Anjo. So them get their little feeding. So them run out and chat foolishness. Garbage. We don't want to hear from them. So as long as them bring up politics, so them are politicians, them to move. You understand? Yes. You talk to government or talk to opposition. We not talk about no politics. Anybody bring up politics. So them a piece of nastiness. You know? Anybody. Yes. Because government we are chat to. All right? What the finance minister this? I never come and say JLP this. No. Me I talk about the government. Yeah? With them business. Yes. Continue.
When an idea that came out of the establishment of the United Nations, right? So when the United Nations was established right after Second World War, there was a thinking, and I think, it's a bit tricky to assess whether the United Nations has been a net good or not, but I think for a while, the UN did play quite an important role. I think, for example, the movement to politically decolonize many countries in Africa, for example, that idea was given quite some credence by the UN. Anyway, so the World Bank and the IMF came out of this settlement after Second World War. And the idea itself was a good idea. The idea was essentially to say, look, we are always going to have crisis of one form or the other. And as brothers and sisters, we need to look out for each other. So we're going to establish two organizations, the World Bank to finance long-term development, and then the IMF to sort out short-term financial crises, like the one that Lebanon is going through, or the one that many countries in the global.
You said the IMF start out the short term, but yet still IMF, you look, we still the IMF agreement 16 years after. They may not start, they might go short term, and the World Bank, longer term, the two of them are the same thing, they're not different. Same, the big countries, them will have the money in it. So even when them give grant, remember, they might give back because your interest for your pay them, Yeah, they might give look at your interest when you are pay. Because the amount of money you pay, it's unbelievable. Them not like us. Yeah, you did.
Going through. So a great idea on paper. Now the sad thing is that this great idea on paper became captured by the US.
Well, them now let have the passenger them, Well, when you see the captain, that's why the one over Europe going to prison the other day, jungle. Because the captain, same ship as sink and him jump off. Yes, I leave the people them. Remember, he must sail the ship and him and them crew. And the crew can't left the people them on the ship. It's bad. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And Western Europe, right? It became geopoliticized. These two entities became tools of projecting Western power. And that's why it's no surprise that the IMF is headquartered in Washington, D.C. The World Bank is headquartered in Washington, D.C. The president of the World Bank is effectively picked by the president of the U.S. And the managing director of the IMF is effectively picked by Europeans, right? So one has to understand this. And because of this, and because there's this, the West wants to maintain dominance, economic dominance, it's useful for capitalism, for example, to have subservient countries to provide the raw materials that powers the engines in the center, in the core, in the metropole, right? So all this, when you think about all this stuff, it then makes sense to have austerity, right? For the IMF to swoop into a country in the global south, instead of saying you're in an economic crisis moment and you ought to be spending more, particularly on the poor, particularly on the working class, particularly on marginalized communities. That's what you ought to be doing. After all, that's what often happens in the West. When there's an economic crisis, you don't do austerity, you do the reverse. But again,
so them do austerity in the poor country. And you can see it for yourself. When something happens, like you have a pandemic, you see them come and the government themselves in the US and them thing there, you see them give them enough money to them people, you get back check. And then you tell them pushing everything, the government come in and then play them role. Not everything. But in our third world country, them cut back. Cut back on this. Don't even pay your teacher. Then when you not pay the teacher, where you have. Tell me now. When they come, them are tell you what to do, But them are telling you wrong. And them are lending the money, you can't do no better. Them are say, listen, don't pay the police then. So what happened? No way to pay nothing. I'll be like, Bill, go upset my work. No, because we're going to make financial discipline. Remember, you're in a crisis, you know. So you want money to take you out of the crisis, and them give the money and I say you can't spend it. Financial discipline. That makes sense too, you know. But we see, we're going the other day, and we see every country, the first world country, them, you know, turn down and deal with them people, right? Yeah? You understand? See? Them turn down and straighten them people, right? See? They want to do one bag of things and cut back him, right? Yeah.
It all makes sense why the IMF comes over here and they say, cut spending on health, education, and those kinds of things.
This way attack. So how you cut spending, me I borrow some money. Me never have no money for pay the teacher, none. That's why me I borrow money, you know. I tell me for cut spending. When me have to spend in the first place. So where you give me something where you tell me cut them spending. It underspend already under budget, you know. I tell me for cut it. You know, see, to the detriment of my country, you think me more. If you just buy your money, you tell me if you do something. I say, oh, discipline. But me have the word of the people, them. It may imply how much teacher in our school. If how much stores not them, don't them have to get paid. The school them have to run the light bill, have to pay. This have to go pay. Them man, they have to go pay. Everybody have to get paid per month. And you tell me cut it when me never have it before, then you know mash me up. Cut spending for your hospital. Then you know find you know have no bed, you know have no ambulance, you know have no medication, you know have nothing. So you come make it worse and you think it's better. Then you lend me the money. Me can't do nothing with the money, but me I repay you and I pay more money down from the debt. With taxpayers' money when me I draw. Draw some more tax, put them in the tax net. Just practice, you know, physical discipline. Make sense? Cut them things, put them rate pan freeze. Rate freeze. Yeah? They might help you and say, yes, you pass. Too much of this. Oh, and grow ourselves from this. Continue.
Precisely because we want to maintain you in a state of perpetual subservience. Right. So I hope this it was a roundabout way around you of answering your question, but I had to do that to get to this
perfect.
point.
Yes.
No, there's so many layers to it, and obviously there's so much obfuscation of it. You know, and I'm sure you've seen this. You know, the Kiel Institute in Germany has just released their new database on African debt, and there's a range of things that it reveals. But one of the things I thought was interesting is they examined the rates of interest of the various types of loans, and of course the private loans were significantly higher than almost everything else coming from the bond market, and so on and so forth. And they were noting that some of the African countries have become so trapped in these debt cycles that they're taking out lower interest loans to pay off the higher interest loans, and it's just an unbelievable cycle, so that almost nothing is really being paid towards the actual needs of the country to some degree. It just now becomes, as you said, like a payday lender sort of reality.
This me like a loan shark. That the man put in. We hear them around up and down. So raise flag. They must say the same thing what we are saying, right? See?
So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about, that aspect of how the various different types of lenders are who is out there, the IMF, there's China we hear a lot about, there's private loans, but how those things sort of interact as well.
That's true. And I think, there's a core fundamental issue, which is that a lot of countries in the global south, particularly in Africa, have are deficient in capital, in sort of funds to fund these large-scale development projects. Eugene, you can't develop without sufficient electric power. You can't develop without laying out a road network, without a communications infrastructure. These things are incredibly critical. And many of these countries, again, were dealt bad set of cards from colonialism, because all that colonialism did was build infrastructure that supported the extraction of raw materials to feed the beast in the West, right? So a lot of these countries are trying to play catch up, right? And they're desperate for capital. The World Bank was supposed to be performing this role of supplying long-term capital at very low interest rates, at what they call concessional interest rates. But the World Bank, for geopolitical reasons, like I just illustrated a short while ago, tool of Western power, doesn't want to do that, because if the World Bank does its job properly, then a lot of these countries in the global south will be self-sustaining. They'll stand on their own.
Oh, so if I tell us to them do the longer sustained way. them not getting a low interest rate, you know. Although you know you get a loan for borrow over a period of time, about 20, 30 years, them that get a lower rate to pay it back. Them still make it higher, make it impossible for you to get out of it. So them keeping our web. So them think I have to really hold it up. Alright, let me move from that and then I can draw back to that man with the money. I'll show you I'm doing money. This Nigel. Look at hear this now. Look on them pay with them now work. And hear me justify it. He push all the pay higher than the Caribbean. We go Barbados at $2 for $1. 2 for 1. Antigua, St. Lucia, and thing them use Eastern Caribbean. The Grenadines, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and them place there. See Eastern Caribbean them use. You know about trying another place I would know, yeah? Around 270 to 1. We know around 150 at 58, around 151, nearly 159 to 1. Yeah? It's a joke. Trinidad around 6 something to 1, don't? Yeah? So you look on it, Bahamas are 1 for 1. Yeah? Cayman, bigger than US. We nearly 160 to 1. When Andrew come in, him get to 121. And himself with the value, you know, that mash up thing and thing, but no, you're not talking about it no more. Nobody must say nothing about it, you know. When them tell you say the deep value and slide. Remember me having saying all these things. See? You understand? So it's bad. You understand? But we hear where Nigel has a right so now. Yeah.
The salaries
Money.
that our parliamentarians are now going to be getting and compare them to what elsewhere in the Caribbean is paying. So the Prime Minister, Jamaica, for instance.
Yeah, so we know that these salaries, I mean, we've done our homework. So I don't know that these
you
salaries
you don't want me to share with the public.
Put parliamentarians and ministers in Jamaica higher than any other country in the Caribbean region.
To stop me from
All right, so look at my match up the place now. Let me try to show you now. So you know, I'm Andrew come and say them now work and tune and pay them well. In the same now, them not in the look nothing for themselves. Them just come up with this and give themselves nearly 300% on this. Yeah? And him said it put them Jamaica now, them higher than anybody in the region. Higher than them, you know. But we now have nothing about borrow and I try float and everything. Speed of pay when it work out in the US is higher than anybody else in the region. Same talk it here, I'm not talking about good. Yeah, taxpayers' money this. Yeah.
To share with the public.
Put parliamentarians and ministers in Jamaica higher than any other country in the Caribbean region.
You're trying to stop me from sharing.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so
I am saying to you, I'm familiar with it,
but
and I'm sharing it as well.
Are not. So let me go ahead very quickly. Prime Minister for Jamaica is going to be over 25 million. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister is 13 million. Bahamas 13.
So Bahamas got 1 for 1 at 13. And then put up our people that put up we know. Him look where the Prime Minister and put it and he cannot want to. See? Just look where he put up. The Prime Minister look.
Finance for Jamaica 21.7 million. Trinidad and Tobago 9 million. I'm quoting
9 million for Trinidad and Tobago and put up FEMA at 21 million. When it work out, you see it? This is what them just to the other day. Let's say, boy, good. What good in this? We don't even have ambulances or nothing. This is Nigel doing. This is the government doing. Them come in to work and then award themselves big pay. And they still pick up for them. Overpay the debt and then underpay civil service workers. And then you know, say, like, for us, please, IMF. This bad, look here.
Everything in Jamaican dollars. Bahamas 10.2 million. In Jamaica, Cabinet Minister will be at 20.2 million. Trinidad and Tobago 9 million. Bahamas 10.
So Trinidad and Jamaica 9 million of 9 million. How about them guys, Cabinet Minister 20 what? Cabinet, yeah. Deputy that Cabinet Minister.
10.2 and an MP in Jamaica will be at 12.5. Trinidad.
The Minister of State, that are the junior minister, them I must see them one day, but the Cabinet Minister are 20 million. See there? Trinidad, see look the Bahamas, look there. Look at
Tobago 3.8, Bahamas 4.3. How on earth do we justify these levels of salaries in a country that we're certainly doing far worse than Bahamas? And when you look at what is happening elsewhere in the region, there's absolutely no justification for this, surely.
Okay. So, again, we're First of all, Barbados, Trinidad, and Bahamas have not entered into public sector restructuring.
No, we're not talking foolishness. So you're talking about entering a public sector restructuring that have nothing to do with your pay. So you're not going to talk about public sector restructuring. The people them still not get paid. Doctor don't get paid right now. So we're not talking never make no sense. This is how we do all the time. And overpay themselves.
The way in which they have recovered from COVID has not put them in a position that they can add this amount to their wage bill.
Yeah, at this amount, like you recover from something and you say, them can't put them in a position for this amount of foolishness about talking to people. And I like to come out of something so you make some money, so it puts you in a good position. And yes, when them for call election or do anything, them say we don't have the money, because through this. So them use a thing the two way. Them use the pandemic like you ever call local, them say, oh, we have to push it out because through the pandemic and we never have this. Them fix something through the pandemic. When them raise them thing, them say, oh, the pandemic give you away when the whole thing shut down. This a crap. Yes.
To pay their public sectors. Jamaica is the only country in the region coming out of a pandemic that's been able to offer these levels of
half of these levels nobody not get paid. When I talk about be a bullshit, garbage, So this is open an eye. Coming after this, remember I beg everything, everything for use in there, I beg it. Remember the tourism thing locked down, so you couldn't go open it. Charge people much for mass and thing. I say, oh, we're the only country coming after this. Could have raised them pay and give them money. That make any sense too, no? It make any sense? People are starved. And this is when come say, on the country coming after this, like this, make it us get some money somewhere else where we don't know. And because them pay themselves these things, that's why them have shortfall in the budget. The last year budget. Yes, them have shortfall tonight. And them money where them pay themselves and do a lot of foolishness with the money. Yeah, man.
Adjustments to its public service.
Why? Secondly, given what we're seeing in terms of our level of development and our per capita income compared to those other countries.
Because of what we are going through, the experience that we have, Dion, we are unable to attract and retain the talent that we need to run the public bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah, what I'm saying? We are able to attract talent to run public bureaucracy. What talent you need and we don't have no talent? So how you get a PA now you run Ghana IMF? Bureaucracy. We aren't able to trap. Who's talent? Who out there now? Them have much stores out there. I wait and I say yes. You have to raise the money and for coming like them. And I like them taking a bag of people, the same people them there. So when that's at it null and void. See, one of my brothers just said something. I know. They sit down this close to us. They recommend it. By the way, just read it to make your seat because I know why you think say. Me show you where it read and me read it. See there? I know that shit. Don't disclose to us the recommendation for the compensation review. This is why they're trying to keep me out. Okay. You understand? See? All right. So, me just look at, all right. So, my birthday, all right, something, all right. All right, So, easy, man. All right. So, this I come from, that me just read, I come straight out of the Prime Minister office. We shouldn't even tell him, we shouldn't even say out of the office right now. It come from Jamaica House. God, them watch me and them start looking now. What him just said, it come out straight out of the Prime Minister office. Yeah. Well, enough people in there, so I don't know it already. Yes. You see? That's what me just see that come out of the Prime Minister office. The eagle fly, Yes. So them up and running. Them a look. Yeah, man. Put on a tool, no make them soon have two use nothing because them think say I wanna yes, attack to me. Yeah? So in this way I justify don't make no sense. Continue.
That is gonna change in salaries alone will not fix it, but it will go a long way towards addressing that problem. So
when come with it don't make no sense. What they do, them hack up themselves and nobody not get nothing. Yeah. The eagle out, junglist. The eagle out. Maybe what the lady asked about him. Yeah, yeah.
But what the minister said a while ago, Dion, I don't want us to miss it. It's highly problematic and highly troubling, and I want to repeat it, and I want folks to digest it. Minister Clarke, before he left, said the increases are about salary levels for the job and not salary levels for the persons in the jobs. Now, the first question would be what job? How does he determine the salary levels for the job if we do not have the job descriptions for the parliamentarians to determine what the job is? And the second thing is, these are not jobs that we're going to be advertising. They're vacant. We're thinking of terms of reference and what they're going to do, and we're going to post an ad. There are persons that are sitting in these jobs, and there has to be some relationship to the value that we're getting from that and what we're paying them. We have parliamentarians, and just to give you 3 examples quickly bulleted. Parliamentarian who left the cabinet in 2018. The year after that attended parliament 36 times. The year after that 37 times. The year after that 39% of the time. So you might say there's an improvement, but which of us listening could still be retaining a job or be getting that increase when we are absent from the office for under 40% attendance? How is that possible? Another example, the CDF meeting in October at the Parliamentary Committee meeting and last month. We had the chair, Minister MP Holness, having to threaten members of Parliament, literally, and saying that the Parliamentary Committee is not going to approve any of your projects unless you comply with the policy. What does the policy require from MPs? You have to meet and consult with your constituents once every 2 years for the 20 million that is allocated every year.
You know what? You once every 2 years, you meet with the constituents in your constituency, and you qualify for the 20 million there. That doesn't make no sense. Once every 2 years. That means you meet twice before the election. I can't call not 4 years, 5 years, man. Just twice, and you're good. That doesn't make no sense. Job description. Up here, sit them go away. Yeah.
Yet we have the chair having to threaten MPs that if they don't meet once every 2 years to discuss the development, they will not get those projects approved.
A lot of foolishness. So I'm going to show you something else. Well, somebody write me, because we're not done with him yet, you know. And by the way, me just see somebody write something and you're right. Who write it? Let me see who does write it. Somebody does write something. Cabinet needs to make it now. All right, no. Somebody does write something about him. Yeah? The whole of this are nonsense. All right, let me just ask you something. So the money, free money where I make now, or the job where I get. Tell me what benefit Jamaica can benefit from that. More than them get more panning pay, not 20 other again, but 70 million. Yeah? And stepping on some people neck. Saying, what am I going to do? And by the way, I'm telling about your black man in the rise and things. Them do Africa the same thing. You know what I know? Let me show you them do Africa the same thing. Look on this. Look here.
The International Monetary Fund says a seat on its executive board will give countries in sub-Saharan Africa a louder voice. In a similar move, the World Bank is also set to give a seat to African countries on its board. The decision will be made official at a meeting of the 2 lenders this month in Morocco.
So you know what them look for Africa because them are drill it out down the Caribbean too, and them look for them to give them a seat on a board. And by the way, in my water boy, not big bad fees are big nothing. Because them have more people. How much people them have in there? Let me tell you how much of them. 24 of them have. Around 24 of them director there. Around 24. In my water boy, remember the name of the director, a deputy. So him more carrying 2 little sheets, you know, like him that carry 2 little sheets and sit down on a table. Him not do nothing. In my water boy, you know, like at the top job. See? We don't hear this again. This is Africa.
The International Monetary Fund says a seat on its executive board will give countries in sub-Saharan Africa a louder voice. In a similar move, the World Bank is also set to give a seat to African countries on its board. The decision will be made official at a meeting of the 2 lenders this month in Morocco.
So them the plan, this So this is what them that plan. You know, give somebody from the Caribbean a seat. Give somebody around the South in Africa. Give some people around here so them make silent and feel nice and jump up out them and wave flag. For what? For people lend you money, the rich country them lend you money and stand up in your neck and taking natural resources. That's our people still fool. Hold on there. After our people them still fool. Eh? What the benefit out of this? With even a job, what the benefit out of this to Jamaica? Because pay austerity measures. Where the benefit, who the benefit out of that? Out of caffeine pay to, you know? Eh? A film pay. Who the benefit? Eh? Who the benefit? Let me continue play this. Who is the benefit? Continue.
At the meeting, the World Bank and IMF will discuss increased calls for reform to better address debt and climate change issues in low-income countries. The IMF Executive Board has 24 directors at the moment.
How much director them have? 24. In a water boy. So many man up and down at the well. You know, I'm carrying two look up paper and them say, you go for it. One 24 directors, you go for this. Go for this, go for that. 24. So you have 4 directors, it'll tell you, this is news. It'll tell you how much, remember that play back again, how much directors them have. Them have different regions. Yeah?
Address debt and climate change issues in low-income countries. The IMF Executive Board has 24 directors at the moment and is responsible for conducting the global lenders' day-to-day business. As the world's biggest economy, the United States has the most votes, followed by countries like Japan, China, and Western Europe.
They want the most vote from them thing that them put in the money, the country them. And then you, them have to come up and when them lend you, them have to get it back with a big thing on it. Like them Clarke run up and down, say water boy job, they may pay you. Yes. But I don't like you turn up in a people's shoulder. I make it sound like it's great. What great about it?
However, the news of a seat on the IMF board has been overshadowed by the lender's forecast of weak growth in sub-Saharan Africa, expected to decelerate to 3% this year. On its part, the World Bank warns in its latest report that sub-Saharan Africa's economic outlook remains bleak and that the region risks a lost decade of growth due to its rising instability.
Yeah. So them just come and them kind of spin up your place and use this and just hold you. Them can't hold you, you know, so them hold you that way there. Them pan from use the money and do this. Them you come in and you can't pay your debt. You can't pay your teacher, your nurse, your doctors, you know, your police, them and nothing. And then IMF come in and say, listen me now, put them paper and put wait for them, you know, put them paper on that. Don't do. I will cut some things. You know, discipline, I teach you discipline and this discipline and all kind of thing. You still want more for top up the police force, you want more doctors for hire, but them I tell you to cut this and put it on wage fees. Then you have to imply these people automatically, you have mass up your country. If you crunch somebody know it's the wrong way that to deal with people, them think of the right way. Then water boy no one go pay down the debt. They pay more on the debt for push it on at 70 yard and we pay them. So that mean you know, out of every $1, you know, we only have 20 cents to spend because 70 yard is debt. It was over that though. You know, we are taking from 105 and we carry it down to 79. So you have to pay more. If I mean like you owe $1,000. Yes. Yeah, you owe $1,000. And them tell us if you pay, you want to pay it off over how much? Over 5 years' time. And you pay $5. No, you can't pay less. You just come up and you can't talk to them or you can't pay. You can pay $2.50. But when you pay the $2.50, you can't pay a teacher, your nurse, your doctor, you can your school good, your hospital good, you can pay your public sector wage bill. You can't do everything and you go and build up. No. You are clear, you have fight for clear it up because you look position in an IMF. So you pay them more on the debt and less on the wage, on people wages. And that Nigel do. Remember just tell you, go check it. You don't think I do it, look here. Let me just show you because let me show you, Nigel. Remember, you know, we know this, you know, so we not to say nothing to you. You understand? Let me show you something. Look here. Let me show you something. Because the IMF come out to come talk about him, you know. Teachers come in facing that and that. Clarke, Let me see this. One more thing there. It's having right there. Let me see what I have it here. So, historic signal. All right, let me say by this. Look at, all right, let me say for that one, yeah? 27. See that? Let me move this. So you hear them country in a trouble right there. So. You hear them country in a trouble. See that? This is to the paper. Clarke IMF was seen as major win for a developing nation. Oh, when him did a son like a fee money and nothing, there's no win. Fund MP praises him as asset to global financial stability. It now stability. Listen, the world is a shit. So it might be the night and shining now, you put in them. So them black man where you take out Africa and put on the boat, the same boat too. It'll be night and shining now for them. You know, so I try to trick people. This coming like the horse slave them. Them take you and put you in a house and then you start beat the field slave them and give them up and lynch them. You help do it. And that's why them come with the night watchmen in the 1700. It don't make no sense. You tend for two little water boys and then pose up like a something. Eh? All right, depend this now. All right, I'm going to find the thing. I'm going to show you some period on more. I'm going to find it for now. Appointment deputy. All right, see that? I want to find the part where them say, let me see it. They might express hope. Appointment deputy managing director will provide a significant advice for a developing state. So you hear there, significant advice. What people can do, you have to do man over him. First, all lend them some money. No. You can't lend the people them the money unless them are come by it. You can't say, hey, you have to follow them rule with them set. So invite and advice and more water back to him carry. And go pan the director. So we don't say. He might have said, oh, you want some go on bad. But at two, instead of might, you know, they might say, yo, carry a fan and come fan. Because you have nothing to do. We are pay you. Go for more water and carry it come. See? So the IMF, you ask the director, not him, and maybe you have 24 of them. What do you mean? Him a water boy. So don't tell about blackface and about Caribbean because we still can't talk about Africa and the motherland. See? But I speak with them say about him here, so. See it? So they might tell about the appointment. And what they want to do is trick we. And every African you can't trick, you know. Descendants of African, you can't trick. See there? Since winning by election, see that? I remember a cabinet member and everything, this, you know. All right. I want to show you something now. I'm going to say I can't find it. So the Prime Minister owns in statement express pride and appointment. Look at pride. Fidua. Remember, you know. Remember, fee money this, you know. He might get paid to carry the water back then. Yeah, and carry that blow the look of fan and go turn on the radio and everything there. When the people, I mean, I ain't get paid. When you want to call and say, light, come in now, want some more water. And God, that's not sorry, but now, what am I going to do? Eh? You can't go to go break nothing and then, like, if I go down and say, well, all right, you want we are do, you lend them $1 billion, but here what you do now. You have to take off the tax, the thing that come in, you know, the interest, you know. Yeah, just make them give back and 100 years, lend them for 100 years. No interest, interest free. It doesn't make no sense. You still go through the same thing. Him can't go and go do what he want to do neither. But him can't go and carry the water back then. You don't know that. Yeah? You don't know, right? Water back. You see? Further update. Yeah, all right. More find the thing. More find the thing. Let me see this. So let me tell about 80-year-old. Yeah, that. More see this Caribbean history. IMF history. So them just want to just write about bullshit. Bruce Gold and PJ Patterson, they and that. I don't want to see this. More want to see the money where I paid on IMF circumstance Jamaica. All right, I more want to see this. See? So it's when them get up and want to talk, you know, for them thing this, but me not look on this as nothing. You have to find somebody and lend you some money and then you give him a job because them stepping at the people they make. You know, them make austerity measures. And then you big him up for that. Me not do that. We're not stupid. You go make some clown go big him up for that. Some clowns. Nobody around here. My name Lonesome Brown. You can make some clown big him up for that. No around here. You understand? Yes. All right. No one has to say something. See there? See that? See 24 board member here too. See them print it here. So he might not make about 4 of them are 24. See there? Overseen by 24 members executive board. You see 24, you see? All right. And here the TV station may just pay it for you. But more may I look for something. May I look for something I'm more showing them. Because them write this long thing where me now read out what that is. This is a waste of my time. Because I can't think I see you run faster this and that and about fights like you want to fight people. People have to pay back their money. It's good for him jump ship. He mash up the ship. He cut some big hole in it. Right now, you know. He do some things, you know. It's unbelievable, you know, man. Him. I don't know, this one is a turn part SSL, I know, you know. Yeah? Them take up some census the other day. I know, that no deal with the I know, don't it? Nah. From January to deal with, no deal with the I know. Everything else when him leave this stuff to deal with, him just leave them. Him jump ship. Yeah? Yeah. And what them want to do is right nice, you know. You understand, right nice. But this is foolishness. This is garbage. Critical junction. Let me see the country. Spelling cost of living, Dr. Clarke. Yeah. The part comes at a critical juncture for a country as well as face serious economic challenges, including the spiraling cost of living. Look here. It might come there at a time. Look here. Serious economic challenges, including spiraling cost of living, negative growth impact in recent hurricane and opposition. That another time. All right. Let me see this now. When you write this long thing, PSOJ extending congratulations. Well, PSOJ, well, I mean, you want the FBI to go down there and dig up the one at PSOJ and take out the juggies and them things, they clean up the place, and that's what I do for me. Please and thanks. No respect for them. Majority of them in there, so enough of them in there, so fling stone and hard pen, make them ball out for them business that. Yeah. I said reliance we are talking about, man. That's what we are talking about around here. See? That's what we are talking about around here. Just over there. More so when say him paid on Jamaica, where the Caribbean entitled sense of pride. Look at now, sense of look what them writing a paper. Hey, you think they could have write and trick me? I feel money I get in my pocket. Don't tell me about no flag. Long time we carry the flag all over the place. I mean name, but my name. Go look up and I carry the flag all over. Gone. See Bob Marley still a carry it there. Me the business about what them want to say. Yeah? Me the business about what them want to say. Me no that for them. Nah. You see, everybody play them look apart. But this film go get paid in a pocket, step like people them neck. And then turn a water boy. But this about pride. This is how them take black people for idiot around here. Yeah? I have some people jump on this, I show no one. International Monetary Fund signal achievement for Jamaica. Achievement for him achieve it for himself. He have nothing to do with Jamaica. Nothing. Only for the achievement for working at Jamaica. It have nothing to do with him. I bet them watch Great Joan from in a Conan. And in a what to fear achievement, she's Jamaican. I bet them watch that. I bet them watch some different room that I remember say Bonnie M, Brown Girl in the ring, and them woman they are Jamaican. One from St. Catherine, one from the south. Matt Sinclair, Jamaican. From Chopper John Indy, I bet them watch them. And not more people make a call Jamaican. We are talking about self-pride. I bet them watch Kamala. Yes, Kamala. And this stuff. So, you know, she may have that thing where she raised up the song and that thing. See? But him now, I was strong, just remember, you know, IMF, now have not now IMF, you know, listen. Them are putting austerity measures and draw up and do all kind of things, right? But since I pride in this. See? So that's why I'm hurry up and pay and stuff for the people them. That's why him suffer the people them. I talk about this and about Latin America. This is garbage. Me have something else I read. When I read where it show you him pay down the debt. Him pay more down on the debt. And less on the people spend less in there. Don't make no sense. So see one right me. Look on this. Look at a million now people. I'm sure it, you know. Million when you write me that now nothing to do with me, you know. Yeah, now nothing to do with me. Hold on, before me even play that, I'm gonna play this.
In London, I went out to have dinner and I wanted to pay. I took the cash out, shiny cash, to pay. And they said to me the most polite King's English, "I'm sorry, we do not accept cash." Later that evening, after my work was done, I went to see the Bob Marley musical. I went to buy a souvenir after the show. Very excited, wanted to carry something I could take home. And how much for it? Oh, £5. I can afford that. Take out my cash to pay. I am sorry, we do not accept cash. Cash is just on its way out.
You hear this? And then I promote digital. Ask him, can we have some money this? Because he got print up digital money. He got print up new money. Hey, listen to me, people. Why do you think the budget of shortfall, last year budget, why do you think it have a shortfall more than how much? Billion. And because of him and the money we spend. Him say cash, I'm sorry, cash out and it pay out. Only in Jamaica. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. When wallet index thing when I promote the other day. I pay garbage him do. Me tell the same sink up the ship. Waste money, sink the ship, and then align film one packet and jump off and leave everybody for jump. And then you want to come give me, but you forgive him flag and proud. Or you forget proud of IMF. For do what? For a man go get a work at IMF, me for proud. And then you attach Jamaica to that. Look how much Jamaica out working out kind of places. We have around nearly 6 million people outside. When you know somebody Jamaican buy this thing. See? Proud of what? Eh? We are proud of them in the diaspora. But in my run now, this is the same one. Him and the Prime Minister say, boy, that's why you must have this, because some people just running up. Mark Walling, renounce the citizenship for your father, what you get for your father, because if anything happens in Jamaica, you jump. Nigel wreck the ship and then don't jump to the IMF. But then you wreck it. That don't make no sense to me. This don't make no sense. You understand? This don't make no sense. All right, Tita, let me show you the GDP. Say him recover. See what them writer say him recover. See there? Him recover Jamaican economy from shocks faster than predecessors. But poverty increased over the pandemic recovery period. Jamaica is one of two countries that have recovered from fiscal wreckage brought on by the pandemic and then it tell about that, right? And it say about them cover, right? But look on this. The microeconomy improved. Why the microeconomy improved? The microeconomy arguably suffered. See there? Poverty moved to 16.7% in 2023. Not my word. 5.7% point higher relative to 2019. Poverty in 2023 Ghana 16.8%. A matter of fact, it is higher than that. 5.6% higher than 2019. But yet still him do good. What happened to these people? So now came and call up the thing with figures and I show you. The micropartite, no right? See, not my word. See that? Straight down back. Well, you know, like, come show them thing here, you know. Yeah. And see that on the Planning Institute, see that publish. See that? Come like the things I want to can go look on it, you know. See that published by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, which falls under the Clarke Financial Ministry portfolio. In one portfolio published this. Okay? In one portfolio. See that? Not my word. But to set up more than that too. I'm going to show you something now. I'm going to show you something. Manager, right? The party comes and jumps are following passage of. Okay, they're going to tell you about this and that and that and that. All right, I want to pass that. I want to show you something. And who him succeed. I don't want to see who him succeed. Yeah, I don't want to see who that. Managing that and that. All right. I want to show you something issue. Let me see this. All right. All right. I'm a pass over see him succeed. Who him succeed. I don't want to see who you succeed. See it there. Say that show me who you succeed, right? I don't want to see that. So yeah. All right. I just want to show the people them something. I'm set with the right up. So them tell us that the microeconomy lost 10% of its value arising from pandemic. See there? The microeconomy lost 10%. Although them say them recover, see there? Of its value arising from the pandemic. You see it? Largest drop in shock going back to the 70s. So the largest drop. So the pandemic, yes, you said it mash up the thing I do here, them attack. Yeah. Yes, I say? Yes. So this is what we do around here. Go on so. You know, say you get banned, you're too enough, you know. But come on from a thing, man. Now, you know what I'm a bun out, man. Go find a bag where you jump on, man. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man. Yes, all right. Yeah, man. All right. See the achievement. All right, I'm sure now me I talk about people. Look on this. Look on this now. Another achievement of Clarke's tenure was the reduction of Jamaica debt to GDP ratio by 1/3 from 110% in 2020 to 72% in 2023. So when you move from 110%, yeah, and you pay more to get the job. You take people taxpayers' money and pay them more. So that's why the money got to 1.5 trillion because you have to nearly take 400 billion out of the money with them have to pay down debt. Can you pay it in a bigger lump sum? Can I get the job, you know? So he make them feel nice. And then we pay them with the 72 debt ratio per GDP. Waiting for we. No ambulance. People them now get no pay. You know, I'm nothing. The place dry. Because we take the tax one, that's why we have the shortfall. So you see how kind of things where play out pan way. So you must up the place. When you buy the money, remember when you go back to them and buy money in 2008, 2008, 2009. Remember when you do it, Now where we end up? See where we end up bad, you know. See? So him gonna come do this. Overpay. Where could I use the money and go and develop something and whatever? You want to work for himself. It's him selfish. Yes. Selfish. If you go turn water boy. If you go meet some people turn water boy. You understand? Yes, yes. Yeah, I see it, but me not me afraid. I think it. Yeah, I think this. Yeah, me see it, man. No man, more. I have to find out. Yeah, yeah, right. Cool. Yeah, man. Yeah. See, so and a matter of fact, him because of that window cause this too. I'm sure it cause. Look here. Look here. Crisis of interest. See that? Everything. See there? Salaries now based on them now get piano not all. And then when you look now, 18% of them can, you know, you get certain things around here. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. You understand? It don't make no sense. No, yeah, clarify that too. Yeah? LPH, never clarify that, because you know, so, you know, you know, instead I come, I can show some things and talk on them. I like do that. You know, because I only some of the tabloid. Me just burn them, but me not do no tabloid, you know? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No man, him jump ship, him not just walk off. Can you imagine your fight, forget the fight or Derek Smith, forget the job where forget the seat because you say the son want the seat too, you know, like in a dynasty. And you put up all of that and right away, you take the money, pay down, overpay the debt. Where could I use the money to develop a lot of things and stretch it out? Because you know, one go feet and drive back for IMF in 2008, 2009. And most of the country. Them walk off left feet. See? Post and Dr. Phillips, them have to come set it back. Then them catch it again now. Look what that's 6. How much years that? From 2008 or 2009. So 15 to 16 years. 15 or 16 years. We each up with IMF same way and see that entire way up to a lifetime again. PJ, they left that, I know. Answer that, I know. This is what them do, you know. See? This is what them do. And then I'm showing you the thing what I want to write me now. See? So when you know, I'm going to come show you say, we play that, what that do for you. He must show you something. All right. You are police. You have a family. You are nurse. A doctor. You have a family. You have your bills and everything. You are teacher. You have your family. See? You have a public sector worker. A private sector worker because, I mean, you have to use the hospital and everything. Yeah? The man take your money, your taxpayers' money where you work. And then pay down the debt to all them want to pay it down. He could have stretched it out. And they do a lot more. You can't pay your bill and feed your family. And then the man will tell you, say, we carry along this year still to hurt you. Because of your taxpayers' money in use, do they? And then overpay that, but he never have to do it like that. He could have stretched it out. Yeah? But he might wait to carry down this. And I hurt the whole country. Him cripple the country. Cripple the public sector worker. And when the private sector worker come and say, we are going to give them a raise up here. Them same one come out and Bank of Jamaica and them. Come out and say, if you do this, you have hurt the country. You have cripple the country. You remember them say it? The private sector man, they come out and say, listen to me. The private sector, they come out and say, we're going to pay we work at them. Them say, don't do it. Because you're master of the country. Don't do it. Don't forget. You say, if you do that, the master of the country, you can't do it. See? You can't believe in them, yeah? The taxi man, all right. See? So, oh, you have to put up a flag for him. See, somebody write me, you know. After the man destroy the place, see, somebody write, look here. No, them right from my thing this man and one of my things. So, we come to that one, you know. See that? See that? See right name? It's the right name 2 hours ago. Good morning or good afternoon. Where you are. I believe you should give this bright, brilliant Jamaican Dr. Clarke in respect for making Jamaica proud. Oh, because you just give that goddamn coffee and I eat that. So what boy makes you proud? You think anybody can use Jamaica for me what people them are suffering and talk about make Jamaica proud? Jamaica is a country. More make the people them proud. You can't starve the people them and then you come and tell me about make Jamaica proud. Eh? Yeah, you understand? No man, them that crucify you kind of things already can write. Eh? Look where I'm right now. Check out the bandit. He's going to show him himself. See? Plus the Jamaican flag is flying high around the world. Your piece of filth, you. Goddamn disgrace and shame. You not tell me about no flag. We travel to much place when everyone going on a plane right now. Like my wife, I know me not travel no way. My wife know the whole place. And then when you see my wife. See? I mean them know the place, right? So my wife, you know, you get some hard jerk up and you just say, you never want going on a flight right now. You have to say, because you know me not fly alone, you know. Me stop do that for a long time now, you know. We used to jump and go fly. So you know, fly with my wife, man. Yeah, man. So yes. See? Yeah, man. So you know it go already. You better go drive. So you know it go already. Yeah? So this is about make flag. I carry flag. Not tell me about no flag. You go trick some other people. This guy get a work for himself to carry water and get a bigger money to carry the water and step in people from Africa. Remember, you know, IMF, remember a big country lending the money, the G20. Jamaica not one of the G20 member. Ain't one. Jamaica is not a G20 member. So the 9 trillion with them get. We want the G20. So you can jump up and just give them some money and them have to defend the money and come back with much interest because that them get paid for them. And them can draw a string and them can, you know, put a noose on you. We're not stupid. You understand? Them thing are something you get up and about my feet proud of. You can't trick around here. Yeah, man. Yeah, the bubble therapist. Yeah, bless. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. In bid because that's why I'm overpay down that. Yeah, the debt. Chop away, what people them. Yeah, let me tell you this. If I never win at the diaspora, what people them, I don't know how them to manage. I've had to spend much money there. But them do this with us, show them say, yo, we can't suffer the people them, you know. Them not see it, you know. So you have either like this or talk about make flag. Or if you make flag, a man I get a work, a female work, you know. This time if you do Jamaica, Jamaica can get an ice cement from that, you know. Them can't get an ice cement from that. There is nothing free to get from that. Your pizza, about to them people here. Yeah? Them not getting nothing from that. Him and him family, this, them that far. That have nothing to do with Jamaica. Because at the end of the day, no care which job you get, you come from a country unless you live out of the ocean. But you still come from somewhere. You have to come from a country. So it not to be Jamaica, it could be Haiti, but you still have come from somewhere, you're a human being. What happened to you? Eh? That's not too faster. Eh? So them right and then bring PMP, you know, me talk about government. Look on this now, no? Because I know a million. Look here. So that's why I have to deal with them, so no. Wait till later, man. You know, you mistake up finish match them up later, man. Hold on, man. Look here. Make him up this way, one of just said to me. Now you are right something. Look, just look what them bring up yourself. Proud, right? Just Jamaican flag is flying high around the world. Instead of coming out on social media, embarrass yourself about the man. Them a put a mash up Jamaica and left. Let's talk about what you said about Mr. Clarke. So you know one of the million, because this is why the country can't go forward with people like you and your PMP organizations with an S. Because when the JLP, no matter about government to the people, and it's a political piece of dark shit, completely up when the PMP, when the JLP is in power and the country is moving forward, you and PMP organizations having a problem. What is them right? I am not a politician, you piece of shit, yo. That makes sense to you. I am not a politician, but you're right. Just go look on where you're right to identify you. Me I talk about a government. And right away you said, me and PMP organization, you're a piece of shit. These are full toilet. Yeah, a matter of fact, you're the toilet from now a GP. He's a piece of shit. See, I am not a politician. Not a politician, right? So. Yeah? No, to me go right, to me go chat, you know. Them pizza when they talk, no, that little piece of shit I know, so I come style it. Yeah. Backward nasty. Ah, yeah. I'm backward now, see the sister. So we come and see the name, yeah. See the name up here, so. Let me show the people them your name too. You see the name? Paul Andrews. He's a piece of shit. Go back road, man. You know, I'm no sense. When the JLP in power, and you're still not a politician, you know. I right away turn PMP and JLP for all a finance minister accountable. You know, saying I'm no sense. Eh? And by the way, if a country move forward by me, sit down and say, listen, that's not right. And that the country now move forward because I talk. If them did do the right thing, the country that move forward. Or that tell you say they gaan fool. They make you know, say you're dumb. Just because you're dumb, don't write on the things, man. I embarrass you, man. Because you're dumb, you show up yourself. You don't show your color, the umbilical card. You don't show it. See, look at that name, you know, because you want to see your name. See there? And when you go talk about PNP, and you hear what I'm saying now? I'm not political, you know. I am not a politician. But I want better for my country. A piece of shit. You know, see where you're right. Look, you know, you say even when the JLP in power, and the country is moving forward, which part of the country move forward? Because you're stuck in your little dirty ways. So you identify yourself, say it's a JLP, and you convince yourself because Andrew alone can convince you and water boy like you. Sister, the country move forward. The country move forward, people? Yes or no? Tell them if the country move forward now. That country look like it moving forward to you. Eh? Stop flapping yourself, man. And go get some knowledge, man. You have a lot of educated fools, you know. Eh? Eh? You see me, I say? You have a lot of educated fools. The country not moving forward. See there? Eh? Me don't know how it will benefit with Maria. His sister, how that will benefit us. How by him going to an IMF, it will benefit Jamaica. And what kind of flag? Me know what, listen, IMF for all long so much of a country in Africa. If you know about me, just show you about IMF. And what them do. I know them farm. So me know I work at IMF and people know some work at IMF, me not take the job. And I like it a good for people. It's advantage of the third country. And that's the truth. Where they look on the truth and then spin it round. That's why uno can better. You see? Never mean about the things, you know. See that now? Yeah. And a loan shark. No, you have to call it one wheel because shark too smart, man. A loan wheel, man. Up there, man. See? Eh? Look on the light bill where the man left. By the way, them write him, JPS, right Nigel Clarke. Me not like talk unless me play it. Me play something here. Me write the JPS. Let me see the JPS. I can't find it right now. Because JPS write him. He not say nothing. He not say nothing, you know. He don't. I feel no. Let me see this. JPS write him, and him not come out, come say nothing. Him don't come out, him not say nothing. Not when we say nothing, zero. Zero. Yeah, man. Zero. And then by the way, uno notice the big uno notice I wanna. Let me just play a little thing with that one. Because I look for, but I find a thing here. So may I play this? You know what I want to look here?
Mr. Vance says despite his outcries and appeals, he feels toothless.
No bite. I only have bark.
So remember, all right. So him come and tell us, him have bark. Yeah? JPS right. Nigel Clarke and him no come explain this to the people then. And then him no come and throw OUR and the one of this under the bus. It can't work. So remember, him not have no bite, right? Just bark. Not my saying, you know, not my word. Who said so? Yeah? The people who said that. Him this? Hey, people, you know who this? Super Zero, you know. See there? Yes, they are gum that. You know, see them, show. See him there? Where them now? Bow wow, woof woof. When say now? Him say now my back. Him have my bite. Him on have back. Show me, I show him. See me? Who said that? See there? Yes. And when them do them just skip up, I'm going to play him back again, you know. I'm play him back again because him said this, you know. Play him back again.
And I've been barking, I've been...
Mr. Vance says despite his outcries and appeals, he feels toothless.
No bite. I only have bark.
Hey, the government minister, they're being... They're going to train back again, you know. No, man, they're for intermission. Yeah? And they're going to empty them all, man, teeth and drop out. Remember what I mean, sister, you know? I can't show you, you know. Remember what I mean, sister Val? See him there? So when you see him now, when you can't look at, see him good? When you see him? See there, you know, see him teeth them outside, yeah? When you see him? Yeah, Super Zero. The man, listen. The man can't tell us him on grab bark, you know, bite, you know. See? The man say him on grab bite, no bark. And I will pray that I couldn't hear it. After them JPS, right, them come out now, him attack JPS and attack OUR. And you still don't go back in my back.
Mr. Vance says despite his outcries and appeals, he feels toothless.
No bite. I only have bark. And I've been barking, I've been writing. And
when you hear that, when I ask him where this, you know. Yeah. Yeah. No, man, this is how I'm bad. Eh? The man said no, and the man tell the pine blank say, yo, I'm going back my back. See that?
Mr. Vance says despite his outcries and appeals, he feels toothless.
No bite. I only have bark.
A man attack for himself. Eh? Same tell us we come like him a while them up, you know, but him not do nothing about it. Empty barrel. Yes. I him say so, you know, not me. That's why I say I do tabloid around here. And I look a political one, you know. You have to show yourself again. You know, have no sense. You say when the JLP in our power and I move the country forward. The PMP, me and the PMP. We don't know what I must say. Yeah, man. AAB up, man. We have to beat everyone here, you know. We have to beat everyone here, man. Play this again and then we're going to let him go and finish like that. Go on there.
Mr. Vance says despite his outcries and appeals, he feels toothless.
No bite. I only have bark.
I want to be still, you know. I like this. Let me show you something again, Nigel. And it's a South Africa. Yeah. Hear this.
Supporters of the Economic Freedom Fighters Party rallied in Cape Town to denounce South Africa's borrowing from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The protesters had gathered outside the venue where Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana was delivering the annual budget speech. Last July, South Africa's Treasury announced that it had secured $4.3 billion from the IMF. The party denounced the multinational lenders as economic terrorists.
We'll explain to you when we come back here that when the National Treasury announced the loan from the World Bank, both the Minister and the Deputy Minister of Finance were not aware. But there's a clique within National Treasury that is in control of National Treasury and even takes dangerous decisions, such as taking loans from the World Bank and the IMF.
In January, the country secured $750 million from the World Bank to further strengthen its pandemic response. The party has slammed loans from the lenders as genocide. South Africa's economic recovery will be difficult.
The finance minister of the continent's most industrialized economy warned on Wednesday during the budget speech.
See? So them come and them talk up. I don't know what people them want if you make it sound like it nice. See the people them come out there. See them come out. I remember play this again. I remember just make them hear this again. Who not hear it because I want them know what is the IMF for, where it built for and everything. Listen
Global
again.
growth in 2023.
Listen.
International Monetary Fund, an institution that promotes global economic stability and perhaps a lender of last resort, or as some say, an outdated organization whose policies damage the social and cultural fabric of a country. Let's take a closer look. The IMF was founded in 1944 at Bretton Woods in the United States. Since then, its membership has grown from 44 countries to 190. The IMF says it monitors the economic health of member countries and provides loans for governments in economic distress. 2 years ago, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 100 nations requested bailouts from the IMF. Here's our correspondent Alan Fisher reporting on those loans.
From its headquarters here in Washington, the International Monetary Fund has put together a $9 trillion pot to help countries deal with the COVID crisis. Most of that money has come from the G20, the world's richest nations, and more than 100 countries have asked for help.
Which part does the money come from? Who asks help? Maybe that's like going to run down for IMF.
19 pandemic, more than 100 nations requested bailouts from the IMF. Here's our correspondent Alan Fisher reporting on those loans.
From its headquarters here in Washington, the International Monetary Fund has put together a $9 trillion pot to help countries deal with the COVID crisis. Most of that money has come from the G20, the world's richest nations, and more than 100 countries have asked for help.
Now, this is the IMF map of where money was distributed. Among those helped, $2.7 billion to Egypt, $411 million to Ethiopia.
Maybe just get them around on for IMF. You hear about IMF now? You hear? Yes. So the big country them lend the money. So them can pull the string. So them sit down when you hear the IMF, you say, but who's the IMF? Like somebody else say, but is that person? No. The world 20, the richest set of country them. That means even this country, that country, that's the one, then you know them. And then put up the money because them have to get it back with interest. That means them have pull the string. And the one them don't have so that our most of the black nation and our little country, them are stifle, them are stepping on them neck. Austerity measures. Like slavery thing. That's why you see, then can put on your shackles and chain, you know. Yeah, me just get something there, Pamela. Where you talk to Pamela? We just attack and you want to play politics too. Yes. You know, say, run after a move the same way, you know. Yes, true, you love the man. Uno bias, growth. Uno bias. Growth is important. So the country now grow up. Me just show you. So here this how Pamela before we never hire you, but we are gonna fire you. But before we fire you, because we never hire you. But before we fire you, we're gonna show you that the country now grow. Right? So we're gonna fire you. But have you right now the region, so we're gonna fire you. Because yes. Because you say we're biased. We say you want us a bias. We not say they not say we're biased. Yes. Pamela Miller. It's bad for you have my grandfather name though, by my mother's side. Miller. But we still have fire you. Because we're not business. If you shouldn't name Miller and no sense. We're gonna fire you. But before we fire you, I show you something before we fire you. See, we're not deal with the foolishness one now. Alright. So see that? These are the cleaner. These are the cleaner. See it? The cleaner. Alright. I could show you something quick. She tell about him role. I asked about grow, right? I'm going to show you something. See there? Clarke IMF role seen as major win. Developing nations. This is just a smoke screen. This is a foolishness. Him can't do nothing at war time. I'm going to carry 24 of them. Up there. And the head of the head. I remember at the US and the world of them are feed them money. Him can't go do nothing where he must do. saying and praise and what have you. This is just fear. So I'm just a water boy. I'm not really mean no. But let me show you something. Let me show you something now. Minister Clarke joined the International Monetary Fund. Let me see this. Express appointment and thing about. Watch this now. 2018 by-election. All right. More I have to something I saw. Leave the Prime Minister out of this. Let me see. Pride and that IMF and this and that. 100, okay, service from 90 countries. Okay, we have that now. Citizen of Jamaica. So when I talk about citizen of Jamaica, we're not business about that. Somebody have to work it where they come from which country your business. We don't want nothing to go mash up down there. So we know that. So me want to show you something. So this I tell you the importance of run the country. Because me just show it to you, me just show it that up. See? Me just show it. So I try to find back that fast before we fire you. Yes, because I can fire you. We have to fire you. Because Paula just right now show me what you just say. You say with this and with that. See? See the 24 members. See the 24. 24. Let me just show you. Because it come like you don't know. Because we are showing you. You have to look it up before you talk though. All right, 24. We against things where we are pressed for people, you know. We're not unite with them, you know. Yes, we're not unite with them. Yeah? All right. So let me see this now. Director of IMF, I believe that. All right. So we'll look for the all right, Sita. Let me see this yesterday. All right, let me see Jamaica that and that. Don't to reflect that and that and that. No, me no want this one. Want to see the growth. All right. Serious economic challenges. So you talk about growth, and yes, they will face serious economic challenges. You see it? Serious economic, yeah, including the spiraling cost of living and negative growth. But you just said the growth. What the growth there? In recent opposition, that, and that. And then me show you, because I think they're going up by the way, you know. A 16% show from out of in place itself. It has show we say it gone up, you know, poverty gone up. From 2019, from it gone up 5.5%, 5.5%. It gone to 16%, nearly 17%. Poverty. It gone up in 2023, 2019 it lower. See? So where that come now, man? All right, so right now you're the weakest thing, so goodbye. Yes. Yes. And the weakest thing, man, I have to go on, man. Yes. Yeah, man, come on there. You have to go on, man. Yeah. You have to go on, man. It's the weakest thing. See? So these are the things I might try to show you. You can't just come up and just say some book of foolishness. We don't know that we don't know. We don't know that we don't know. Nigel, if you turn a water boy, you pay down, you jump and you go do what you want to do. And them I try to spin. We not spin. We know about the IMF. And if we have a problem with, yeah, we have a problem with the IMF, how it deal with our country over the years, and our country suffer more. Austerity measures it put in and step in our neck. In our people, them neck. And a joke. Because it have to defend the big country, them money, you know. For them money, you know, so them look. And then give the money, them not give free, so them push the money in it. You have to pay it back with interest. So you will always owe the big company, them, confidence. You understand? You always owe them. So the country that put in, I say, I put in $1 trillion, and when we done, I get 3 trillion from this. Yeah? And I want to get this and that from that. I want to say, I put in 500 billion, I get this from it. And that them do. She got out, man, but no, she get fired too. You can't say go bias on here. Yes, we no bias. See? The blood family, remember say a slave blood we have, you know. Yeah. Real bad slave descendants. See? So when we attack on an overall level. Nobody not trick me. That means you see them are come from the one them will sell out those slave. So a man can do anything and him turn around and him give a job and that's it. And then you start big up and you show your flag. Now, you know, we your flag with them thing, by the way. Don't mix up the flag with this. When we can mix it up with some running and some sports and music or something, when we can say, yes, you feel proud, me not proud of this. And by the way, film are going in pocket. he might live up and go live where him live and them thing go in and pocket. Wait a do. I feel money. That now and 1 cent enough for the people. And I like if you work at Jamaica, where you do win, lose or draw, it affect every single Jamaican because you're the finance minister. So when they did a mass of the country, it affect everybody. When the police them now get paid, I'm going to talk to algorithm. I'm a talker. When I'm talk to this, look, me no want to talk it. Talk it
in an algorithmic way. This is an arithmetic necessity so that when the pay slip is received, the amount of the statutory reflect the actual amount of statutory that need to be paid in the context of the new compensation system. The instructions that would have gone out were algorithmic instructions about how to construct a payment. And I do understand that that algorithm, complex structural problems, and through application of analysis. Now, just to get a little more granular, and I hope I can retain your attention even at a level of additional granularity. The algorithm that went out would have specified, add this, add that, add this, and then minus this, minus this, minus this. And again, in an algorithmic way for a computer to understand, or for somebody computing to understand. So that algorithm, which is an algorithm that we use on a monthly basis, would contain add this, and then would have minus it.
So now understand that? But that's not a word, them not a big word. See, we say grand, like grand finale, a grand gala. So he might put big word and but add this, or minus this. I better talk to a dumb mute. But they don't talk to a deaf, one of them people there, whether I can deaf. Better talk to a mute. Because we must say, yes or no, add this, or minus this. It make any sense to you? Yeah? Yeah. Nobody can understand add this, add that. None of them add this, or minus this, minus that. That doesn't make no sense. Minus what? You never say, go add 2, and then, and then it's equal. And then we're minus 1, and then we're minus 1.5. You say add this, add that, and minus this, and that. Make sense? Eh? I know we might jump ship. Remember, them take up a census. $4 more billion right now. We not getting value for money. He might run with the fit too. He might run the fit to sell to, He might run with the everything. Plus the country mash up. Yeah. Yeah. See? I'm going to come with sign language when we attack. So, so add this and algorithm and logarithm and yes. Yes. See? So it knock them now because them did want to run with something. But it don't make no sense. And by the way, the owner of a yard boy come out and say she defend him, from IMF. Yes. Water. Yeah, because remember when them carry are saying about it great, and remember IMF you deal with people. But suffer our people then. Yes. So great for who? No, tell me now, great for who? It's great, but great for who? For who? Eh? He might lift the flag ahead. To what? Oh. If you work with IMF, more Jamaican work there. What do you mean by lift the flag? Lift the flag ahead. For what? For earning more money and stepping on more poor countries' neck. We want to come a day when your country don't have to look upon them and borrow that it can dismantle. Yes. Yeah? Them still owe the money. Them still owe money, we still owe a bag of money. And then them take a bag of money over, to carry down the debt. Him over spend this over payment. Use the money for pay police and nurses and buy bed and them thing. Then use it and give them back. So just get a job. That is a yard boy. Yes, that's a water boy. Yeah. Yeah, man. Big up yourself, Glenn. That is a water boy. It shouldn't have happened. No. I see him blagger with him finger them there. Yes. Him now, when we talk, him should have one to, you know, water boy. Or him a back, pay back, you know, him no bite neither, you know. So another one, you alone no bite, you know, people. Him to a back. Well, Andrew do the same thing, but all of them are the same thing. The one, yeah, and him alone. That one, see, that same teeth them out there, so see, yeah. So them are super zero here, bow wow, rough. Just back. False explain one more better for me, you know. False. See? So this are him too. This is different from him. No FBI, no them Maria. What about the 20 billion budget shortfall? It got around 48 billion right now, Maria. Mark Golin, don't you trouble Juliet. Who's going to give red? Yeah, okay. So the red card depend him now. And he might tell us a ride and die with a country. No, let me tell you something. When you could have live a flag, I when him a finance minister, he might do good. But he never did a good. So he couldn't live a flag. He can do good to IMF. But to hurt to people with austerity measure. So me know say you not do good. You have to balance the thing. You have to balance it. These are the same reason when poor let's say rates freeze. Look at them going like people are eat that not people. When poor say rates freeze, right? These are the same reason when she say wage freeze. Them come out and I say with the basket, remember? When you have to balance the people, them like Andrew himself say it. It's the basket, you know. But I mean, like talk some things and show the people them, you know. I mean, that's why Andrew, basket. The Andrew there, the basket. See, me play it. Me not ramp, me play it. See? See basket, yeah? See the time, yeah?
Majority of Jamaica. We have been to the markets and the corner shops. We have been to the hospitals. We have been to the churches. And we have been on the buses. We have been all over the island. And the universal cry of the people is, it is not working.
Boy, you listen to this now. And you tell me about water boy now. And when them run up and down. Just listen to my Andrew say yes, sir. But in the balance of the life. It for go right across the board, not only by one word. Nobody not tell me nothing. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, let us be clear. It is a good thing to pass the IMF test. However, the government must also pass the growth test.
You stop talking to now. Want to hear this? It's a good thing to pass the IMF test, but if you pass the growth test, so what to Nigel now and you and Joe, why you never pass the growth test? Instead of import food and do all kind of things. Never buy one word and one admission. Let me play it again.
Let us be clear. It is a good thing to pass the IMF test.
Listen.
However, the government must also pass the growth test.
Play it again.
Working. Mr. Speaker, let us be clear. It is a good thing to pass the IMF test. However, the government must also pass the growth test.
Oh, so you're in government now. So you're in government now. So you must pass the growth test. Me not understand this, you know. So me never understand when me talk now people like that one where we just move and I want to policy, you know, when the jail people are moved. No. By my own appetite sure, go look at the gleaner today. You understand? They tell us the poverty rise to 16.8%. And it's higher than that. In 2023, gone more than that, maybe a 58%. More than that too. But them will just do a little sample and tell you that, and that high for your country. 16.8% from 2019 and now 2023, 16 point gone up, way up there. So, yes, sir? Yes, sir? You understand? Yes, sir?
The passing of the IMF test alone will only mean more pain and pressure for the people of Jamaica.
We want him repeat the same thing now. We want him and Nigel repeat the same thing. Me tell you, I'm going to pay down the money. You see me, I tell you, after me get coming, I'm not chatting with them. Because when they were in opposition, them say all these things. And then bring it to the people. And when you play it like this now and hold them back to, but you have to, but yeah, the government, you should know better than this one, you know. When I start for people. No, you play politics. Say what you want to say because it's ownership. Say what you want to say. You play politics. You ain't talk straight, yeah? Eh? But it's okay whenever they say nothing. Yeah. And the market this now. See that? Look at. You know what I'm saying? The growth test. And the man tell you, no, you have to make sure the people are right. Theme one word. But hey, them to play this more too, you know. Play this.
The passing of the IMF test alone will only mean more pain and pressure for the people of Jamaica.
You know, that not telling the people, if him just pay down the debt alone, have more pain and pressure for the people of Jamaica. Him know. I pass, because you pass IMF test with it. So you know, come bring it, don't forget the job. He's a water boy. You're a water boy. You sit down and carry feed the lady the water. Because you know, usually do not need 24 then. She and 23. So you would want to go home now and you just make it up and say, all right, tell the next water boy, I go for my water. And just have my slippers too. Carry it, come and come sit down there. So, yeah. Yeah. See? You hear this? But you use about the same thing now and then run out. And so, see, him up here now. And the Prime Minister himself said this when we were in opposition. See that?
Mr. Speaker, if the Minister of Finance doesn't pass the growth test, then he puts in danger the passage of future IMF tests.
Yeah, growth test.
If he doesn't pass the growth test, then, Mr. Speaker, it means that you will have to take the tax test. If he doesn't pass the growth test, Mr. Speaker, then the food basket of the people of Jamaica will get smaller and smaller.
When you can't show me the basket now, remember them that come from field mouth. Demand them to pass, no go test, you know. See, poverty turn up. Yeah? Yeah, them will understand. Yeah, man. Mr. Miserati. Yeah, right. Because here what the man say, yeah, so. And all me do, you know. All me do for Andrew, you know, it's holding by him own word. And then, you know, apply it back. Apply it right across the board. To him, they are trying to say, no, but we are holding by a word. This is how you care for the people and you tell them what you do. But you have it for 8 years out. But in this year, you know, you pass IMF test. They want to do everything and with austerity measure in a people neck. Like Andrew them turn up to just go get a job for himself. Yeah, him just another water boy. Eh? Yeah, what am I gonna do? And I like I see my woman here say. They might put him in a little back room and call him out. Come here. Go to the pool and get my water, get me some water. Go to the fridge there, get me some water. Put the price in our cup. I need the price. Nothing else. He not have nothing for to do, so him just sit down. So remember more skinner than him just go on. But they before him. And I said, what I want. You know, like, you just go to school and you have to be a real getter, you know, you just go to school, you know. You have some boys see how they look so. So him see him, you know, so you're all lion, and I say, no, they're not rushing. Okay, if you have them little, just a little book nerd, you know. Them have a rush, you know. Yeah? No, him have a go there now, as a little, you know, water boy. The one of them are selling for water too. So the cooler they will get our water too, alone them and them depend the same thing. See? So you can imagine the amount of water back him have to carry. Eh? Yeah, man. See that?
Mr. Speaker, since the government has been in power, the Jamaican dollar has lost 34% of its value.
The dollar now, how much it lasts now? Because when him come in, him have 121 to the dollar. When him come in, now it them nearly 160. I'm gonna hear him repeat this not at all. You have to use the word of this against him. I don't know, I use against him, you know. In one words. I want it mean to the people them, so it means something good. Because when they say so, the dollar the last step of the future. Him say if I pass the growth test, me agree with that. So what am I to do? Disagree with when they say yes so? No, you hold him to it. Him not pass the growth test, so I have to hold him to it. I have to hold him to account. You need to balance the thing. That's why I say you can't just pay down the debt. Where did I spread out the money? Some of them have a problem with him at that. No, me I use it against him because I see where I do, what we do. Yeah. Thank you, David. So, I don't like me disagree with where I say so. Me just say, then, oh, you know this, you know, do it. So when me come now, I see him say no, 2 look dirty millions. Yeah? But them a water boy to a water girl. It don't make no sense. But I said no outside. It don't make no sense. Play.
Prices of basic food items have increased, some by over 100%.
Go check it now. Because when them go in here, get apply for $2,000 sheet apply. How much we 12 grand and gone up. I know 100% that, you know. Here's how much percent them they gone up, not 100. And then you just apply it. When you look at a tomato and then think how much money for it, it's unbelievable. Yeah? How much you pound of flour, and pound of rice, and pound of sugar, how much you bag of them they know. And the team watch. The things they make it balance and it all right. Now what them to account?
In 2013, we brought the Jamaica Food Basket Parliament to show just how much things have changed since the government came to power in 2012. We demonstrated at that time that Jamaicans were suffering due to the effect of devaluation and a sharp erosion in their purchasing power.
So you use the same thing now, the devaluation and the sharp erosion in the purchasing power. Look on one Irish. Not Irish, look on one church. Not the Irish, one church. I look one Alice. You see, look here. I nearly $900 that. Plus tax over $900 that, right? Yeah, see that? 800 that. One little bit of church, you can't see the hand hold it. Look here. You can't see the hand right here. See that? But in a little tree there, one little church. One little church do up on the tree. So to the purchasing power now and everything we matter about right now. Welcome to it right now. So all me are doing is just use back because I think him that do better. And to try and treat nobody. When I'm using that, I say no, but it not stand for me. Me that the government. So you are what? You think you can't treat nobody, boy? You can't treat nobody, boy. I want it to your word. Me just I want it to your word, not my word. See that?
Just how much things have changed since the government came to power in 2012. We demonstrated at that time that Jamaicans were suffering due to the effect of devaluation and a sharp erosion in their purchasing power.
So Jamaica now if asking yourself now, asking yourself the same thing and go look back in 2015, 2016, look at the money they there. Because under suffer because of that. Look how you used to get the things to buy from. Buy how much money could I buy your things. And look where the money can buy now. Look how much you apply for your bag of rice, sugar, flour, everything. How much you pound now. You have to squeeze toothpaste and do all kind of things that are 2 crackers. You buy now. I squeeze a toothpaste. Squeeze everything, a slice of bread. 1 slice. Yeah, you get you have some place that tell a slice of egg too now, you know. Like a half an egg. You boil it and you can get a half an egg too, man. Yeah, man. Yeah? See that now, see that? See that?
I thought it useful, Mr. Speaker, to compare the basket of food, the basket of goods. Don't worry. Don't worry. The basket is very light. Very light.
So we want him to do the same thing now. So what I'm trying to do now is carry the basket. Yes. Carry the same basket now and compare it. And say, she said, me I do good. What's the same basket? And compare. You, a matter of fact, and that's what I do, you know. So be a good prime minister and let us compare the basket. And compare the money too. And the devaluation and everything. If you compare all of them. People at Jamaica, that's what you compare. Play this, and everything when you do, you just stick it down, and then you compare it. You just go Google that, and then compare 2024. And you know if them are going good. Compare your light bill and everything. You will know if them are going good. Don't make them chicken around here. Yes. So we are holding by this. Yes. We are holding by this. See? 158, then get to 121. You see that? 158. All right. All right. Yeah, man. So these are the things that I tell about me holding by. I don't care what they want to say. I don't care what them want to say. I hold the government accountable. Ask for to do it too. You say, I will think in Jamaica to raise them price in unison. See? If they come and put out the basket, them to do it now.
I thought it a useful exercise to compare the basket of goods a fixed weekly minimum wage earner could actually purchase with $3,000 in 2011, 2013, and now today, Mr. Speaker. This, Mr. Speaker, this is the 2011 basket.
So you should come in the basket. More I show something. I can miss my time. I wind up in the man so fast for your time. So I come and start play the basket here. More. Andre, if you come back the basket here, yeah, carry back. So we're gonna start play this back more and more. But I hold you to every word where you say yes. I just start now doing it. Me not do nothing else. But remember, if you burn certain things, all right. Me not expect you get up and you burn these things. And then when you sit down there as a prime minister, no money at a part about a statutory declaration, no declare. I'm gonna go with it to look money. I'm at a fact, so when you say yes, I'm gonna move him a little bit there. Because I'm still have to leave. But remember these people? This is one of deputy mayor down there. So man to be a deputy mayor. Richard Vernon has taken a swipe at Jamaican expatriate who seek greener pasture at the expense of developing them own homeland. Vernon insists that the patriotic youths should stay in Jamaica and build their country. On the cowards run away to go to America because they are seeking out opportunity. Opportunities are there overseas. But do not run away and leave your country. So now, so like where they are, so I mean, I never read them about this. So you tell it to Nigel Clarke. You see, me tell it to them people critical bad. Me beat it till the hammer Ben Sharon. Run it so me not stop nothing run it so. You don't know that already? Yeah. See? So me beat it till the hammer Ben. Nigel Clarke turn water boy. He's a water boy right now. Yes, you want to go up there, I just water them and you're not going to even see him. He last. All right. If them have 24 and a woman, you don't have no name. She not just come up there. What do you think? She might go up there, you say, Lord, what am I going to do? Him can't take out one set of member of the people, their money, me go to prison. I just step up in your neck and do foolishness. So when them take it up and give him some big money and say, them going to have him the fair water boy and pay him. So you're one of them where you go step in them neck. All right. Come, we're going to pay. Go from a bucket of water now. He might go for 23 different buckets of water at him reach. You make 24, the same just come. Because one woman come off. Go from a water. I hear them say, go up on the cooler, they go full back them one. So he might just water, boy. Carry a little fan more and they see me like them are drill you in a like I fall them AC and so come turn on the little fan and hold it there. I want a boy, man. I like him up front about carry what? But you have to hold him to what Andrew has said. Yes, sir. You have to hold him to account. Nobody make them spin nothing going here. We know we want the country them to stop borrow money from the IMF and do all kind of things. We know no foolishness with them. Them can't tell me nothing boy, you know. Nothing. See? You have to clap at them. Not all them can't tell me boy. We are clap at them. See? Nothing. Yes. And Nigel, you abandon ship, man. You wreck the ship. And the ship has to wait 3/4 way down. And if we try, you know, help out the people them and make them come out, you leave them. I remember when captain leave ship like that, you know, who was seeing it to the, you know, the water boy captain and the next captain and when they run off the ship and sink it. People go to prison for these things. You understand? You go up, then go to prison for these things. We have to play more of this the dog without teeth and more Andrew with him basket because you have to hold him by the money with the value. Yeah, and the lives of people and the things them will rise up because they go to basket. So we have to play more of the basket by you now, Andrew. We are all you to account, brother. So you come out and you say these things, and your one word where I use all to account. Simple. Not my word. That's right, go. That's right, go, man. Because you are doing have enough more things you can do, you know. But as I said, the bird they out, him jump ship and people, this is not about not celebrate about him. I do not, that nothing to do to Jamaica. I mean, I hear where you're born because you're born. Some of them are doing it with Africa right now. They are doing it with Africa.
Lukando, SABC, Dar es Salaam. The International Monetary Fund says a seat on its executive board will give countries in sub-Saharan Africa a louder voice. In a similar move, the World Bank is also set to give a seat to African countries.
So them plan for this seat, for start up black man. They want them boy have to be us slave. So and am I saying it is here. Same thing. So them plan for us give them a seat one. You much of them did it, so them do it for just shut you up. Because people are getting more vocal, no one say, you know, a foolishness. So I say, hey, if you have somebody who represent them, them are idiot, you know, them talk about flag and them country. Because them are idiot, you know. And from when a leader come out, the whole of them are say the same thing. Remember, this man of the wilderness, me not say what them I say. You can't treat me on here, not on this earth. Impossible. I got alone, me say, man. Well, I'm told now. Yeah, man, you can't trick me, man. Go trick them. I talk to the Almighty, you know. Yeah, man, you have to meditate, you know. Yeah, man, you have to say your own prayer, you know. Pray to, yeah, man, you have to, yeah, man, say a prayer to the Almighty, man. You know. So what we say, knowledge is the greatest thing, you know. Them not say. Them can't trick me, no man, bird can't trick me. I'm tell them again, I'm tell them a lot of things. Sometimes I make more metaphors and I'm talking about parables. Remember, when you're around me, we study everything. However, a 360 view, me. My wife have it too. Yes. You have trained your kids them for that. So when you think say me now study this, we have study that, man. I'm there either them 40 years. No matter make no, you know, a man come speak him sound articulate. So that make him bright and him have knowledge. Him have no knowledge. Remember, I pay educated fools, and the majority of them are educated fools, you know. Easy to get tricky, you know. And then jump and say with the crowd, I say, me not do that. Me dissect same time. You understand? I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Then. And we can't ask more than I was at them. I mean, I start chat straight as is. Because, you know, nothing can change around it. See? I got to worship when I worship man, you know. Yeah, when I worship, yeah. You know, when I worship flesh. See? Like that. And the man of passes and do all kind of things going on. Now, when I do that. You see?
The International Monetary Fund says a seat on its executive board will give countries in sub-Saharan Africa a louder voice. In a similar move, the World Bank is also set to give a seat to African countries on its board. The decision will be made official at a meeting of the two lenders this month in Morocco. At the meeting, the World Bank and IMF will discuss increased calls for reform to better address debt and climate change issues in low-income countries. The IMF
come with a reform to better address debt. What that said to you? Yeah, reform and climate change issue.
IMF Executive Board has 24 directors at the moment and is responsible for conducting the global lenders' day-to-day business. Yeah. As the world's biggest economy, the United States has the most votes, followed by countries like Japan, China, and Western Europe. However, the news of a seat on the IMF board has been overshadowed by the lender's forecast of weak growth in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, it's overshadowed by weak growth because them come with this. Although them have take out your resources. And then some money where you can't pay and then your resources sell cheap. People are that, you know. Like the backside said, for nothing at all. They know what they do. Say you have to sell the ship and take out nobody and them have to work free. You know, you just slave them and slave them in the next way. Like people are that. Eh? We know this with them. Yeah,
expected to decelerate to 3% this year. On its part, the World Bank warns in its latest report that sub-Saharan Africa's economic outlook remains bleak and that the region risks a lost decade of growth due to its rising instability. Isaac Lukando, SABC, Dar es Salaam.
All right. Just I'm done with them, you know. I'm done with them, man. Yeah. So what you do now, you just get up and you go put some little black man pan some boy. Go water them a carry too. So them are them join, the water boys, them join up together. See? We're done with them. Water boys, them join up together. Anyway, me are running up so later.
We in lump sum, we are beat it till they are my bane. We now make them get in and them and again. None of them boy, we none of them. We alone some rise up the bomber.
Original 40 says no, we not take rough up the cock up. From the other day, them face them a puff up. That they 3 little pig and the old fire off up. If them flip like a fool and leave them get crushed up. Meta, shut your beat, not speak, you meta hush up. Street furniture, everything's a get dust up. Limbs and shove, everything's a get brush up. When you see original East man, you must not fuck away. Lyrically inclined, be a metaphor, so no listen to.
Win again. I'm out.